Good afternoon, everyone. This is Bagger Don at Stock Market Caddy, and this video is going into our strategy library under the title SMC Fairway Chart Marker Beta Strategy. Right now, it's still a beta strategy. Now, I do think we're going to add to this, and I also think that we will be adding it to other programs. So let me just take a moment, a little more patient moment, to describe what this is. First, we're looking at a Renko chart. So what I want to describe to you is on a daily chart, we'll get this little guy out of the way, that has candles. And today is Sunday. So let's say, for instance, Friday's candle looks something like this. It's made up of, I'm going to call this the open, call this the low, call this the high, and we happen to have the close. There are formulas. Now, there are a number of them. We're using the most common one. We haven't created this, but it is a very popular tool whereby the programs will take the open, the high, the low, the close of the day, divide by 4. There might be some additional magic in there that I can't recall. And what they will establish will be for the next day, and I'll tell you what, I'll do this in yellow, what is called the, bear with me, the pivot point, the PP. And you're going to see this in a minute, the pivot point. So the pivot point comes from the previous day's candle action. From here, there is additionally other formulas. We're using the most traditional. From here, once you have the pivot, you can calculate what we call the R1 as an example. R1, we'll draw it as a solid line. R2, an even, and R3, based on the previous day's price action. And on the below, S1, S2, S3 as an example. Now, what is tricky is to write a code that can calculate the daily pivot information and place that code not just on an intraday chart, like a 5-minute, a 10-minute, a 1-hour chart, which we can readily do, and others can do that too, maybe a little bit easier. But being able to get the daily information like this and get it planted onto like a Renko chart that you see here, and you're going to see it in a minute, or a point and figure, or a line break, or a Kagi chart, is not that easy to do. In fact, and not many people have it. We do. And as an annual member to Stock Market Caddy, you have currently this ability under the tool SMC Fairway Chart Marker. Fairway Chart Marker. You also have this price information loaded into a radar called SMC Fairway Radar. Now, that Fairway Radar will give you the values based on a daily chart, even though the radar may be set at 1 minute, 5 minute. I'm not sure if it works on a tick. I'm not 100% there. But on a minute time frame, you'll still see the daily values, which from the previous day, which could be pretty interesting. While we're here, this tool, this Fairway Chart Marker, for those that want to trade options or invest more slowly and want to know not just where the daily pivots are. I'll put a D in here. Maybe I should make it yellow, make it consistent. So let me do that. For instance, a daily pivot, or the daily S1, the daily S2. Maybe you want to see the weekly pivot in the weekly S1, S2, S3, or the monthly, or the quarterly. I think there's even a yearly setting. I think while we're at it. So when you look at your inputs, the default is always daily, but you could slow it down. Now, I don't think those values are going to be important to you. Maybe you might want to know them, in passing, but on an intraday basis, not necessary to know. Now, what might you do with this information? Well, if you're trading it visually, one of the things that I like to sometimes do, right, and this is a game of probabilities, is that when I'm between the S1 and R1 on an intraday basis, which this was drawn in by hand, so this doesn't reflect anything here, but I might be prepared to go long and or short. But when I get above the R1, R2, certainly the R3, up in here in the red zone, what am I thinking of doing? I'm thinking of selling. It's just me. Maybe you think of buying. You can certainly keep me posted on how that works out. S1, S2, S3, down in here, I am in fact thinking of buying. So up here thinking of selling, down here thinking of buying, in here prepared to go either way. All right. So let's clear all this, but keep this in mind, and let's clear it. And I'm now going to go to the indicator itself, and let's go plug it in. This video is on the strategy, but let me go here and show you. So here it is, here, and you already have this SMC Fairway Chart Markers Original. Yours might not say original, but it'll have your name and your date there. If you set the input at 1, that means it is daily, 2 weekly. So there it is, 3 monthly. And rarely do I move it off of the 1, and quarterly and yearly. So there it is. And you have the same capacity, again, to see this information on a radar. I'm going to turn it on for a moment, and I can customize. And then the pivot calculation is set at classic, which is what I use 99% of the time. The other 1% might be traditional, and that's really it. We do have number 3, Camarilla, which I won't bother to explain now. I just put it in. It was really by request. I'd be hard pressed right here, right now, to explain necessarily the difference, but we went through, and quite frankly, if there's another calculation type that you're most interested in, we could certainly incorporate it. But these are certainly the top 3, this being number 1, number 2. That makes sense? And you can control the colors, and you can control the font size too. So what does this look like? And there you have. So let's go look. So this, you can see where the days actually shift. So this turns out to be Friday's pivot. This was the pivot information. Tonight is Sunday. This is Sunday, December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day, but 1941, some years ago. But this is the pivot point, R1, R2, and R3. This would have been based on the daily candle from Thursday. What's really neat, though, as soon as the day finishes, it will calculate and tell you and tell us where is the pivot information for the next trading session, which is also going to be for, I think it's Sunday right through Monday. I don't think it'll cut off. It might cut off at midnight and then regroup. I'll have to take a closer look at that. But so this gives you the pivot point on a D for daily. W would say weekly, M would say monthly, right? So here's the daily. And if you want to increase this font, you can. And let's go ahead and do that. It looks a little small. Bear with me. We'll customize, and we can increase the font to say, let's increase it to 16 so we can see it. Didn't get that big, did it? Jeez, it's a little small. But let me try that again. Hope we don't have an error there. Did I not? Yeah, let's try it to 18. Did it not change? Yeah, it's not changing. I'll take a closer look at that. I'm not sure why that isn't changing. We could certainly change it here on the window. Yeah, maybe that's, and we can change it here. And it didn't change, I think, every place else. Let's double check that again. Yeah, let's see. Status signs, access labels. Maybe this will do it. Let's see. No, it didn't. It changed it here. So I'm going to have to go and take a peek at that. I didn't notice. Usually I like it kind of small. I just want to see the lines. And the current day, I think once it starts trading, it'll turn into a hash mark. All right, so this is about the strategy though. And so the beta tool is called SMC, Fairway Chart Marker Beta Strategy. Let me load that in and show it to you now. Okay, so we have just loaded the strategy in, and we're going to explain to you how you can control and manipulate the buying and selling based on the pivot information on what you might want to do manually. We're also going to explain to you how you might do it if you want the machine to optimize. Like maybe it's better to be buying down here, or maybe it's better to be selling down here. I don't know, right? But we could ask the machine to tell us what the best options are. And in a moment, I'm going to show you how to do that. Also, too, just know that down the road, this particular beta strategy doesn't come with clocks, doesn't come with profit targets and stops at the moment. You would have to add those a la carte, which we're going to show you in a moment how to do. But in time, we will come back and revisit the strategy. We want to make sure that everyone that wants to work with it as an annual member gets it and has a chance to work with it. But the third thing that we're going to be able to do is control other strategies, other point and figure strategies, other Renko strategies like C Point, other tools, maybe like Swing Machine Plus. Have them turning on and turning off and doing what they do that you all know about. There's a whole host of them, and maybe you have your favorite one based on where you are on the field of play or on the pivot field. So know that's coming. If you have, as you work with this, but please work with it, right? For those of you getting it for a period of days, please work with it and then, let us know. As an annual member to Stock Market Caddy, we are prepared. We don't have a deadline, but we are prepared to do customized, specialized programming for each of our members, and we don't charge extra for that sort of thing. So at the moment, this portion of the video is going out on YouTube as an example of the type of work that we're doing behind the scenes all the time. So if you're on YouTube, this video is going to come to an end. We invite you to visit the website. If you are an annual member and you happen to see this YouTube video, don't fret. We're going to keep going, and the video will be loaded into your library, and when we finish, we will notify you. Okay? And if any annual member wants this beta strategy and doesn't yet have it, let us know and we'll send it to you. YouTube folks, we hope to inspire you to visit the site, and we hope you'll give us a call at 813-758-8263. So YouTube, thank you. Annual members, stay tuned.